Hey, Ania, I'm paying attention to you. I'm drinking warm tea like you told me. Is everybody doing something to stay calm and chill and get ready for tonight?
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.
Yep. See, you all are already teaching me stuff.
Yeah, Mom. Are we having like
Good evening, everyone. We will start our program at approximately 6:05 to allow everybody to come in and get settled and enjoy a wonderful evening. Good evening. Welcome to the inaugural presentation of the Healing Youth Alliance. Before the program starts, we wanted to review some technological instructions. The room that we are currently in is called Home Base. We will begin here and we will end here. This is a trauma-informed event. Therefore, we want to ensure that all participants have voice and choice. To enable that process, we will drop a link in the agenda in the chat box, which will give you links to various presentations available this evening. When the host gives the direction to enter the presentation of your choosing, please open that Google Doc to access the links. Please note the password for all rooms this evening is HYA 2020, and it is case sensitive. So that is HYA 2020. There will be one presentation in this home base space, which is being streamed live on the Heart Smiles YouTube channel. If you wish to stay in this space, you will not need to access any other links. The ambassadors have asked that you hold your questions until after the presentations are over. If you have a question or comment, please put them in the chat box and moderators will read your questions and comments during the question and answer portion of the evening. After the youth finish their presentations, we will all come back to home base to finish out the evening together. I will now turn over the program to our Healing Youth Alliance Ambassador host, Young Elder. Enjoy the evening.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing Youth Alliance inaugural conference. We are extremely happy and excited to have everyone here. When we first planned this conference, we were only planning on having 40 to 50 people, but we ended up registering over 500 people. And that's not even including the people streaming from YouTube, Facebook, and other streaming platforms. So we are very grateful and very happy to have everyone here. So while we're giving out thanks, I want to give special thanks to all of the people who helped support us and make this night possible. So first, I want to give thanks to the Black Mental Health Alliance. That's Miss Andrea Brown, Miss Nia Jones, and Mr. Richard Rowe, because they have taught us the content that we're going to be presenting to you guys today, and they have contributed so much to us. I also want to thank the University of Maryland School of Social Work. That's Dean Judy Postmus, Sharita Adams, Dr. Kyla Liggett-Creel, and Mr. Orrin Howard, because they have been implementing Healing Youth Alliance so that we can present to you what we are presenting to you today. I also want to give a shout out to the research assistants at the University of Maryland School of Social Work. That's Miss MJ, Miss Andy, and Miss Julia, because they have supported us extremely through this process. We also want to give thanks to Heart Smiles MD. That's Miss Joni, Miss Emma, Miss Morgan, and Miss Caitlin, because they have had our backs and supported us and made sure that we are on our ones and twos so that we can present this presentation to you guys today. And last but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out to our funders. That's Baltimore City Health Department, Office of Youth and Trauma Services, B-City, and Baltimore Community Foundation. Thank you guys so much. So now I'm going to be covering what it is I'm going to be explaining to you guys tonight. So first, I'm going to describe what Healing Youth Alliance is. Then I'm going to explain our future plans as a business. Then I will introduce our incredible ambassadors and their topics. And then lastly, I'm going to explain the final steps on how we can maneuver through this presentation. So what is Healing Youth Alliance? I know that's the age-old question that everybody is wondering because you've been hearing about it so much. So Healing Youth Alliance is a youth-led Black-owned business from youth all over Baltimore City. And we have come together with the sole mission of healing. We know traumatic experiences all too well, whether it be mass incarceration, death of a loved one, seeing drug abuse, drug overdose. We know those experiences firsthand. So we use those experiences to help guide us through these presentations that we're going to be presenting to you guys today, so that you can understand what it's like being a youth and experiencing mental health, and especially mental health disorders in the African American community. Because our end goal is to build the community back up and heal. So now I want to talk about our future plans. So we believe that through our presentations is where healing can happen. So at the end of this entire event, you guys will receive a satisfaction survey, and you can let us know what you thought about our presentations, and if you want to contact us and for us to come present at your organizations. We feel as though Healing Youth Alliance is very essential because there's so many decisions being made about youth without consulting youth. And mass incarceration, like I said, the traumatic experiences that youth in Baltimore have been experiencing essentially can be prevented if people who are in power can understand mental health from a youth perspective. And that's why we're here presenting this to you today. So after these presentations, after you hear our amazing ambassadors and you're interested in hearing from us again and coming to your organization, we would love to contact you. So now it's time for us to introduce our amazing ambassadors. Diabre, would you like to go first?
Yes. Hello, my name is Diabre Lewis. I am 16 and I am a junior at Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. I am a Healing Youth Alliance ambassador, a Heart Smiles Heartbeat, and also a youth mentor. I wanted to be in Healing Youth Alliance because I feel as though we as youth should be able to have our voice heard and get other youth and encourage them to basically know what mental health is and what it is all about.
Thank you. Jamira?
Hello, my name is Jamira Queen. I am 18 and also a senior at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. And I joined HOT, and I'm also a Heart Smiles Heartbeat, for the community and advocate for youth across Baltimore City. I've did many things in the community, whether it was speaking, mentoring, or just traveling to promote the mental health and just youth as a whole, and just to advocate for the youth of the city. So I feel so high is important to me, and mental health is important to me because I know how it was before I started to focus on my mental health, and I know that when you actually start to focus on your mental health and talk about those issues, it changes a lot with your whole life.
Thank you, Jamira. Lamar?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lamar Hill. I'm a 17-year-old entrepreneur, as well as a Healing Youth Alliance ambassador and a senior at Cotton Academy High School. And I chose to be a part of this because it's not a lot of Black men who are in the mental health field, as well as it's a lot of problems in the city that we as youth need to come together and fix.
Thank you, Lamar. Taylor?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Clinton. I'm 18 years old and I attend Youth Opportunity Academy. And I am a part of Healing Youth Alliance because I want to be a part of the healing of my city and the healing of, more importantly, the youth.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Camry?
Hi, everyone. My name is Camry Modis. I'm 17 years old and I attend the Elite Western High School. I chose to be a part of Healing Youth Alliance because I feel like a lot of time we don't talk about mental health. Mental health just started to become a conversation in the Black community, and especially now with COVID and everything, we really need to start paying attention to our health. So I wanted to be a part of something that's fresh and new, and especially youth-led and Black-led, to help my community be more knowledgeable.
Thank you so much, Camry. Ania?
Good evening. My name is Ania McNair. I am a senior at Reginald F. Lewis High School. I am also a youth entrepreneur. I wanted to be a part of Healing Youth Alliance because I believe that mental health in the Black community really needs to be talked about, especially what's going on in Baltimore City and other different cities. So especially that it is youth-led, I feel like it is very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ania. And like Dr. K said, my name is Elder. I go by Young Elder. I'm 19 years old. I'm a freshman at Coppin State University, and I'm also a heartbeat. And the reason why I chose to be a part of Healing Youth Alliance is, like I said, it's a lot of decisions being made for the youth without consulting the youth. And right now, we have an amazing group of youth right here who have done research, and we have done the studies that we need to do in order to provide information on how you guys can understand mental health from a youth perspective. And I feel like, if I'm not going to do it and if they're not going to do it, who's going to do it? So that's why I got involved. So now that you guys have met our incredible ambassadors. It's time for our ambassadors to share what presentations they're going to be sharing today and explain why they chose those presentations. So, Diabre, would you like to explain which topic you're going to be presenting today?
So today, me and my partner, Jamira, we will be talking about healing from substance use disorder in our African-American community. And we chose this topic because we feel as though substance use disorder is very common, but it's not really talked about. So we wanted to bring light to the situation. And we also wanted to basically give facts and information about how it is taking over our Black communities and how we can actually help that.
Thank you so much, Diabre. That is a very meaningful topic. And I know that there are many people who have experiences with substance abuse or know someone. So if you're interested in that topic, you should definitely check out their presentation. Cameron, would you like to explain your topic?
Hey y'all again. My partner and I are talking about who you are and important conversations on healing in the Black community. So if you want to tune into some issues that aren't addressed and really starting to dive deep in conversations that aren't addressed, please come to our room.
Thank you so much, Camry. That's extremely correct. Identity is really important, especially in the Black community, because if you don't know who you are, there's no way that you can really heal fully. Lamar, would you like to explain your presentation?
Hello, everyone. Taylor and I will be talking about healing trauma and depression in our community. We'll be discussing a few ways to heal from trauma, as well as listing some good and bad coping mechanisms.
Thank you so much, Lamar. And I think during this COVID season, a lot of people know depression all too well. So if you have questions or you know something about trauma or you experienced a traumatic event, I definitely suggest that you guys check out their presentation. So now I'm going to be explaining the next steps. So one thing we know about trauma-informed care is letting people make the decisions. So now that you guys have heard the presentations and what they're about, you guys have the choice to join which presentation you want to join. And don't worry, they're all amazing. So the next steps are, there's going to be a Google Doc dropped in the chat below. And you're just going to open that Google Doc and it'll be the agenda. And after you open the agenda, you will see the topics which we just listed and the link below. You'll click the link and it'll take you to which presentation you want to watch. If you want to watch Lamar and Taylor's presentation on trauma and depression, you can just stay here because this is the main room if you're joining from a streaming platform. Also, when you click it, the password is HYA 2020, HYA 2020, and it's cap sensitive. If you have any questions, feel free to just drop the questions in the chat and you can go ahead and click on that link and join your room.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for choosing Lamar and I's presentation. Again, we're going to be talking about healing trauma and depression in our community. Like I said before, my name is Taylor Clinton. I'm a Healing Youth Alliance ambassador, an entrepreneur, as well as a self-confidence speaker. I'm 18, a high school senior, and a heartbeat.
Hello, everyone. As I said before, my name is Lamar Hill. I'm a 17-year-old entrepreneur. I'm a Healing Youth Alliance ambassador, a senior at Coppin Academy High School, the CEO of the Wavy Way, and a heartbeat.
Yeah, so before we get started, we would like you all to participate in an activity. Lamar will explain how this activity will go.
Okay, everyone. So we'll be doing the activity called modus experientiae, which if translated from Latin means emotional experience. How it works is I will pluck from the deck for each participant, and based on the color that's plucked, you'll have to say an experience associated with that emotion. There's a twist though. If you get a skip, you'll be able to skip the question. And if you get a reverse, you have the option to choose someone else to go. If you all would like to participate, please raise your hand or drop your answer in the chat. So who would like to go?
Yes, who would like to participate in our activity? If you just raise your hand, you'll be called on to speak.
Mr. Al is interested in volunteering.
Hey, hello.
Well, hello, Mr. Al.
He's going to put it in the chat, his answer. So if you go ahead and go with the question.
All right. So
Okay.
you have,
I'm sorry. So your card is yellow. So the two emotions that you can either choose from are happy or cautious. So let us know a time where you were happy or cautious. And again, for those of you who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, please feel free to leave it in the comments.
All right, we're waiting for Mr. Al's response. And he is, we believe, typing a time that he was feeling happy or cautious. Birth of my son, happy.
That's
Yeah,
really
that's
exciting. Thank you for sharing.
And we also have another volunteer. The next volunteer is Naeem Adams. And so what color should Naeem Adams be responding to?
Naeem has the color green.
All right, so Naeem, in the chat box, can you please tell us a time and what feelings are related to green, Lamar?
I'll let Taylor explain it.
Okay, Taylor.
For green, explain a time where you were either confused or greedy.
Okay, we're waiting for Naeem. He is typing in his chat. Let's see. Confused and greedy are hard. So Naeem says, I felt very confused about what decisions to make for me to better myself.
Yeah, that can be really confusing at times. Thank you for participating, Naeem.
Excellent. And we also have Nevaeh Brown has volunteered. Nevaeh Brown.
Hey, Nevaeh.
All right. What's the color for Nevaeh?
The color for Nevaeh is she actually has a reverse red. So she could choose to go or she could reverse it to somebody else.
All right, Nevaeh, are you going to choose to go or put it on someone else? Oh, okay, Nevaeh wants to go.
Okay,
All right.
Nevaeh. So explain a time where you were either angry or passionate about something.
Okay, Nevaeh Brown is thinking about a time that they were angry or passionate about something. And they're going to enter it in the chat box. All right. All right, here it comes. All right, Nevaeh is thinking. And we're gonna get the next person ready. Andy Tompkins has volunteered to go next. And so while Nevaeh is thinking, can you pull up a card for Andy Tompkins, who is going to put in the chat what feeling they have associated?
All right. Andy has the color blue.
Okay. While Andy, and what are the feelings that you want her to choose from?
Yeah, so either explain a time where you were sad or shy.
Sad or shy. Okay, Andy, you think about that. Nevaeh has responded and said, a time I was angry is when people don't understand what I try to say and then think I'm getting smart and yell at me. And a time I was passionate was when I do cheer and gardening.
Yes, thank you for participating, Nevaeh. Sometimes when we're misunderstood, that can be really angry. I'm sorry, I said angry. That can be really upsetting. Thank you for participating.
All right. And Andy. Andy says she was shy when she first moved to Baltimore and didn't know anyone, but had to make friends. Thank you, Andy.
Yes, thank you for participating, you all. Sometimes moving into new environments can make us really shy because we're exploring, new things, new people. So thank you all so much for participating in our activity. Please feel free to use this activity whenever you're talking to your friends or your family or Thanksgiving while we're waiting to eat some good food, right? So next, we want to jump into some objectives that we want you all to take away from this presentation, as well as things you will learn. So today you will learn what trauma, depression, and mental health is. You will also learn what types of disorders that can come from trauma and why it is important for a person to heal from trauma. And then we will talk about events that has caused trauma and depression in our community and ways that we can heal from trauma. So again, before we get started, we want you to keep these two statistics in mind as we present, because everything that we talk about today is what is going on in our city and in our lives. We as youth are coming with the problems, but also the solutions. However, we can only list the problems that are going on in our community and how we need help. We actually need those who can get the youth opportunity so that we can begin the healing process in our city. About 20% of the youth experience depression before they reach adulthood, and only 10% of those youth are being treated for it. So again, please keep those in your mind as we present and as we let you know the things that are going on in our community.
Before we talk about anything first, we have to answer the big question. What is mental health? Mental health includes our emotional, mental, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every step of life, from childhood to adulthood. An example of how mental health affects you every day would be how it influences your mood. Events from the past may determine how you think, how you feel about certain situations, and even what you're comfortable and uncomfortable with. Meaning that if bad things happen, your mental health can be affected in a negative way. Such as if good things happen, your mental health can be affected in a more positive way. A real life example could be a child who's grown up within an abusive environment. Them growing up in an abusive environment can cause the child to become overly sensitive to other people's emotions, as well as they may hide their own emotions because they feel afraid of how someone may react. Another example would be mental health in the Black community, since it has really been impacted because of the historical trauma that we faced throughout the years. From slavery to most recent, police brutality. Slavery put the Black community through a lot. Let me list a few. Innocent Africans were taken from their homes, were beaten, murdered, raped, sold as property, treated like animals. We've experienced injustice and racism. We've even experienced inequality. Even though we were free historically, there are many things that still haven't changed in today's era. Many still experience murder, being beaten, injustice, racism, and inequality. But in present day, people associate these things with police brutality, race-based violence, and community violence. All these experiences have not only impacted African Americans, but Black people all over the world, shackling our minds in an attempt to prevent us from becoming the kings and queens that we once were. Next slide, please. Now that we answer what is mental health, we still have to answer what is trauma. Trauma is an emotional response to a terrible experience or natural disaster. Immediately after, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea. While these feelings are normal for some have difficulty moving on with their lives. We see trauma in our community frequently, and there are those in our community who don't even know that some of the situations they go through are actually traumatic experiences. For some, they go their whole lives without receiving any help for the stuff that they've been through. My next question is, does anyone know what intergenerational trauma is? Feel free to drop it in the chat.
Can you say that again, please?
Oh, yes, of course. My question is, does anyone know what intergenerational trauma is?
So Morgan Handwerger says trauma passed on from generation to generation. And we see when trauma affects a family through generations of their people, when you get traumatized from your parents bleeding their trauma on you from their parents, is it your racist grandparents? Trauma that lingers from previous generations, trauma carried from one generation to another generation, when trauma happens in a generation before you, and when that impacts the next generation.
Okay, thank you. So all of your answers are correct, but I'm gonna still give my definition of what intergenerational trauma is. It's when trauma is inherited by newer generations. Can anyone give me examples of intergenerational trauma? When I say examples, I mean like real life examples, like instances that happen throughout time.
So one example was whoopings.
And you said whoopings?
Yes, sir. Whoopings, like previous generation whooped the next generation, who then whooped the following generation. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, alcoholic parents abusing their kids because they were addicted from their abuse as a kid, alcoholism. All right. Trauma of racism, molestation, someone went to jail and it was never addressed, having limitations on getting loans, jobs, and funding for houses, lack of proper self-care.
Thank you. All y'all all correct. But my example that I would like to give y'all is the Tuskegee experiment and the life of Henrietta Lacks, and experiments like these. These experiments gave Black people legitimate reasons to distrust the medical field. I see these as intergenerational traumas, which this brings us to our next topic. Next slide, please. Why is it important for a person to heal from trauma? It's important for a person to heal from trauma because it can result in three things. It can result in them using drugs to feel better, which isn't good because it can cause them to have lifelong battles with addiction. They can have mental problems, possible impairment, problems with cognitive functions, memory loss, lack of self-control, and many others. They can even die from overdose. Another reason is it isn't good because it can result in a person isolating themselves from their friends and family. The longer a person is self-isolated, they're more likely to show symptoms of anxiety, loneliness, and even depression. And last but not least, our biggest one is self-harming and suicide. According to the CDC, as of 2018, suicide became the second leading cause of death in Black children ages 10 through 14, and the third leading cause of death in Black adolescents ages 15 through 19. Over 500,000 Black males and over 450,000 Black females died due to suicide and self-harm in 2019 alone. Now, next slide, please. Now let's talk about the types of disorders that can be caused by trauma. There are 5 types of disorders that can mainly be caused by trauma, which is depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and schizophrenia. Now, I'll hand it off to Taylor, who will be going more into depth about the types of depression as well as what is depression.
There are 3 different types of depression. We have persistent depressive disorder, which is a mild but long-term form of depression. We have postpartum depression, depression that occurs after childbirth, and then clinical depression, We are going to focus more on clinical depression, which we see a lot in our community, and I'm going to tell you how. Next slide. What is depression? Depression is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in daily activities. It causes significant impairment in daily life. Depression is also a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness. It affects how you feel, behave, and think, and can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. Someone who has depression are likely to have changes in their sleep pattern, loss of appetite, loss of energy, feeling drained, feeling hopelessness, guilty, thoughts, and even suicidal ones. Just what depression is how you can identify if someone has it. Depression is a mental health disorder, and we all know our mental health is what we need to live our daily lives. If our mental health is affected by trauma or traumatic situations, it will affect how we think, feel, and act. We have a lot of traumatic experiences that happen every day in our community, and I want to share how. Next slide. How depression has impacted us. Over the past few years, depression has hit our community where it hurts, the youth. The tragic events that go on in our community has caused the youth to cry louder than ever before. Lately, it seems as if we take loss after loss. The experiences that we have faced has caused trauma to be an everyday norm for youth. We've lost hope, stopped caring, entertained thoughts of breaking the law, and dropping out of school. We are looked at badly because of these things, but from a youth perspective in our community, I see everything from the inside looking out. When the city saw the uprising that was a result of Freddie Gray's death, that was the door for adults to turn their backs on us. Most stopped caring about what we say, how we feel, and even our opinion on things that would affect our lives. To them, it looked like the youth turned down the city. For us, it was a cry for help. The traumas we go through, we literally see every single day, and we want to name exactly what they are. Next slide. Types of trauma and causes of depression: abuse, physical, sexual, or emotional,
Certain medications,
death or loss,
poverty,
serious illnesses,
domestic or family violence,
community violence.
and major events.
These are all serious and tragic events that can cause someone to have depression. That doesn't mean everyone who goes through or went through one of these things has depression. The highlighted things are what we see consistently in our community. Because of these events, our city and country have been more and more at risk of having depression and other mental health disorders. In our community, instead of helping with those who deal with trauma or who have went through traumatic experiences, they are put on medications as a way to deal with mental disorders. And then poverty. Poverty is something that has affected us as youth because money is what we use to buy the things we want and that we need. If we don't have as much money or any at all as some of our peers, that can affect us mentally. The traumas that are highlighted are what affects the youth's mental health and even how they act. Next slide. This is the time to take a moment of silence for just a few of those who have lost their lives in our community. Our lives can't matter until we heal from the ones that were lost.
Breonna Taylor, Freddie Gray, George Floyd, Taylor Haynes. These are just a fraction of Black individuals whose deaths traumatized the nation.
Rest in peace to all of them. We also have images from the Freddie Gray uprising that speak for themselves. When someone who looks like us is killed by those who are supposed to protect us, it hurts. The aftermath of people being killed and taken away from our community, their parents, children, and partners who are crushed and left with nothing but grief. The country is left in fear, wondering who's next or will this ever end? It's not just terrorists who are killing us or criminals, but the police.
How does this make me feel? This makes me feel all types of emotions. I'm scared because it can happen to me or my family someday. I'm tired because I'm tired. I'm tired because I don't see any real change. Everything is staying the same. I'm disappointed because we as a whole are supposed to heal and grow together, but instead we're being killed by the ones who are supposed to protect us. I'm numb because I'm so used to seeing all people dying. I'm so used to seeing all of these things that are happening to the people with our color of skin.
As a youth, young woman, and African American, I am fearful of the future. The trauma that we have just informed you all of are what we see and live through every day. In our community, if we do not heal from these things, our community and the youth will stay in the same state that we are in. We know that a lot of people in our community don't even know what trauma is, so they wouldn't know how to heal from it, which is why we have Healing Center engagement as well as Healing Youth Alliance. And next, we would like to share some coping mechanisms for trauma and as well as depression. Next slide. So the first thing we have is socializing. Just talking to someone about how your day went, how you're feeling, maybe an experience that you had can help heal not only you, but the person that you're talking to. It's always good to talk and let your emotions out or just say how you're feeling. Also, getting enough sleep. You don't want to oversleep, but you also don't want to undersleep. An average person should get about 8 hours of sleep each day in order to participate in the daily activities that we do each and every day. You also want to relax and then maybe deep breathe. Me personally, I use the 4-7-8 method, which is breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 7, and then releasing it for 8. This just helps to bring me back to a state of calmness and remind me where I am and who I am. Also, meditating and listening to music. You want to meditate, it's just as good as relaxing and sleeping because it helps to relieve some emotions that you're feeling, wherever your state of mind is, can help you tap in with yourself or whatever spiritual or religion that you have. Also, listening to music. Sometimes we get in the habit of listening to music that keep us in the state that we're feeling, but you want to listen to music that's the opposite of how you're feeling at that moment. So if you're feeling down or not feeling like yourself, listen to some self-affirmations and self-confidence lifters that can help you and bring you back. Also, painting. I personally use painting as a way to express myself and a way to release my emotions. I have my own painting business. I painted the wall behind me. And like I said, it just helps me to release my emotions and bring me back to a state of calmness, and also helps others for me and gives me a way to tell my story. And then sports. And I'll allow Lamar to share how sports has helped him.
For me, sports has helped me personally because transitioning from middle school to high school, I had a lot of things that were happening in my life. And when I started doing sports, it allowed for me to relieve some stress as well as process some emotions. When I was on the court, it was nothing but my feet on the ground and a ball in my hand. It made me feel like me.
Thank you, Lamar. And do you mind sharing some of the sports that you've played throughout your life?
Oh yes, I've ran cross country for 2 years. I did basketball for 3, and I ran track for 3.
Thank you. So just how we've used these coping mechanisms, you can use them too. Next, we would like to share some ways that you can use your trauma to help others. Next slide. So as I said before, socializing and talking to someone that you trust or just someone you know about your experience can help people who are going through what you've been through by sharing your experience and how you dealt with or are dealing with that trauma. Also, getting a therapist. Using this method, you can show people that you've been through therapy, that it works, and that give people the courage to go and get a therapist. Becoming a speaker, just what Lamar and I are doing, sharing about trauma, stigmas, or mental health disorders can help your community. Also, facing your trauma. Not saying go to the place or the person that you had the traumatic experience with, but just realizing that it's in the past. You can't change it, but it doesn't define who you are. And then Healing Center engagement. These are some of the things that we need to heal. But if we don't have the opportunity or the resources to do these things, the youth will continue to suffer. As a resource and a method that we do have, like I said, is Healing Center engagement, another way the community can help heal. Next slide. So what is Healing Center engagement? Healing Center engagement is a strength-based approach that focuses on collective healing for communities who deal with trauma. Healing Center engagement does not focus on what's wrong with people or what happened to them, but the best things about them. This is a method that everyone who needs to heal should use. We focus so much on collective healing and healing together as a community that we use an African proverb to remind us of that we are one as a whole. That African proverb is Ubuntu. That means I am because we are. This means that together as a community, African Americans and youth, we are a whole and we stand together as one. And we cannot go far without each other. For a community to grow, we have to grow together. And one of the best frameworks to use, especially for the African American community, is healing-centered engagement. Next slide. These are 7 collective healing traits that we use to connect and help heal our community that you can use too. So how does healing-centered engagement work? Well, the first thing that we do is connection with our ancestors, rituals, and spirituality. This helps with connecting people with what they believe in. We are a community, but we all are from different ethnicities, different cultures, and religious backgrounds. So it is important for us to help you tap in with your roots.
The second one is knowledge of history, culture, and social action. It allows for you to gain knowledge of your history, what, where, or who you came from.
It also allows us to build upon their life experiences, knowledge, skills, and curiosity as positive traits to be enhanced. You can do this by focusing more on what the youth are good at and how they can use their talent to build and make themselves better, and more importantly, heal. Also, wellness for providers. So in order to teach about healing, you have to make sure you are practicing self-care and showing that you know exactly how to take care of yourself, but that you have practiced self-care and that you know how exactly it works and how exactly you can help others to do it.
We also use empathy, meaning that we have to show that we care, that we understand, that it is okay for us to have feelings. Another one is we encourage youth to imagine and dream. We have to give the youth hope. We have to show them that they can make their dreams come true. That it's okay for us to dream of the impossible, because they'll someday make it a reality. And last but not least, we have to build critical reflection and take loving social action. By encouraging people to heal and find ways to heal the community through social action, such as participating in food drives, protesting, and what we're doing tonight.
Yes, so thank you, Lamar. Again, these are the things that healing-centered engagement use, which are 7 collective healing traits that the community should use and anyone who wants to help should use. Next slide. Next, we have some sources and some helplines that you all can screenshot and to share with yourself or anyone you know who are dealing with trauma or depression, and to also learn more about what Healing Youth Alliance is, what healing-centered engagement is, and how we are making an impact on a community. Feel free to screenshot this. Next slide. You can also contact us at taylor0110clinton@gmail.com, or my Instagram, which is just Taylor, or the Healing Youth Alliance Instagram.
But yeah, feel free to contact me using my email, which is hilllamar308@gmail.com, or my Instagram, which is wavy.mar.
Thank you all again for listening to our presentation. We hope that it has had an impact on you some way and somehow, and we hope that it gives you the strength to want to help not only the youth, but our community heal. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and let us know, and we'd be happy to answer them.
All right, we do have some questions already in the chat. One person requested that we go back to the resource slide so that they could take a picture. So we are now putting up that resource slide. We still have a few more minutes, so please enter your questions in the chat box. There was one question earlier. If you've put it up earlier, please post it again. But one question was, how can the white community support the Black community in healing?
That's a very good question. one thing I'll say to that is, well, I don't want to say what y'all could do, but what could be done is y'all can basically stop acting like the stuff that is happening doesn't exist. Like, we understand that you don't want to be a part of it, but regardless of if you're in it or not, it's a part of your community. It's something that you experience as well that we experience. So by you saying that, like don't use the terms like all life matters or nothing like that. Like, just make sure that, oh, okay. Just make sure that that everything that you see, not necessarily you speak on it, but acknowledge it.
Thank you. Dr. Fulton has asked, how can you speak to how Black on Black violence has affected our youth?
I'll let Taylor answer this and then I'll go after her.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I can't speak for all youth, but I will speak for me, and I am a youth. So I'd say Black on Black crime has affected me because I think that we already have enough trauma to deal with, and we already have enough targets on our back and people who want to kill us and who want to see us fail. So just to see that people from our own community are killing each other instead of trying to uplift each other and trying to heal each other, it really hurts, honestly. So that's why I try to do everything that I can to uplift, especially my Black males that are in my community and Black females, to help them be on the more positive side, let them know that it's more to life than just killing each other or putting each other down. But to answer your question, it hurts me and it affects me mentally and physically.
Dr. K, could you actually repeat the question for me? I want to answer too. That was a powerful question.
How would you say that Black on Black violence has affected our youth?
It affected our youth greatly. It's a lot of Black teens and children who grow up without having a father or without having a mother. So it affects them a lot because it forces them to either be in a single household, or because of the violence, they're scared to go outside, or it's something they associate themselves with. So if they see somebody getting beat up on the street, one day they might feel as though that's okay because that's what we're putting in their minds. That's what we're showing them. So it affects them deeply. It affects us deeply.
Thank you. Do you think that, whoa, things are happening so fast, people are excited. Do you think that, let's see, how can we hold white supremacists responsible and not every white person?
That's actually a great question. I think that a way that people of the white ethnicity should separate themselves for who they really are. So if you support Black Lives Matter and support our movement and just support healing as a community altogether, then I would say participate in protests, and just different things to show that, well, what side you're on. I really don't want to say sides, but at this point, that's kind of the state that we're living in. So just to show that you're for us, here to help us, and actually want to see us heal.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing is, like, to separate y'all, just keep doing what y'all doing. Like, if y'all not messing with anybody and y'all not in the way, then I'm not gonna say it wouldn't be a problem, but y'all wouldn't be associated with the problem. Y'all would more so be the answer. Y'all would be basically showing the white supremacists what they need to do, as opposed to them doing the things that they feel based off of emotion.
Thank you. Another question, what are some common barriers in trying to get others in your community to speak about trauma?
I say one will be being afraid, because a lot of times in our community we're told to keep things to ourselves and not really share our business like that. That itself is a barrier, but also just being afraid of how others will look at you and how people will judge you or feel about your situation, because a lot of times we have those who deal with trauma and who deal with mental health disorders, and they're called crazy and psycho because of the disorder that came from whatever traumatic experience they went through, or just it being inherited through generations. So a lot of times it can be just people being afraid to speak up.
Great. Can you talk about what are some barriers for youth accessing mental health care?
Lamar, did you want to answer that before I went?
Yeah, I got you. Got you. Um, some barriers would be like basically them being afraid because they don't want people to know their business. But that's something that has been programmed into our youth and all these generations, that everybody needs to mind their business, when in reality, the business and the things that they go through is what they need to help them grow, is what they need to process. So that's a barrier. Another barrier is just they're scared of people making fun of them. They're scared of being labeled these terms and stuff that are related to mental health, because it's something that people look down on as opposed to us looking up to. People in the mental health field, they actually help people learn, they help them grow, they help them process their emotions and become their greater self.
Thank you. What are some services or resources you would like to see in the available in the community?
So for starters, Healing Youth Alliance, we are here to help our community as well as heal our community. But I would also like to see opportunities for youth, because the youth have a lot of talent in our city. So rec centers that are open for rappers, singers, artists, maybe ways that we can paint murals around the city, more food drives, and just different things that we can help to heal each other.
Sheesh, she stole my answer. But one thing I could add on to that is therapists. Like we don't have a lot of therapists. Then on top of that, we don't have a lot of therapists that look like us. We need those to help us heal. Like it's a lot of people that's in these generations that feel more comfortable talking to the people who have the same skin color as them, or is the same gender, or been through those same experiences, so they know where they're coming from. It's a lot of people that are saying, I'm not going to say that they're saying they're therapists, but it's a lot of therapists out here that aren't the right ones for the people that need them, if that makes sense.
Thank you. How do you balance self-care and self-motivation?
So personally, I don't have motivation. Instead, I have discipline, because motivation is something that I can wake up and say, hey, I want to start a business, or hey, I want to design something. But the next day I can wake up and totally not have that motivation at all. So I personally have discipline. Instead of saying I want to start a business or I'm going to do this, I have to start a business and I have to do this so that I'll be able to start that business. And then self-care is just something that I do. It has just become a daily norm for me. It's something that's a part of my schedule. So whether that being, like I said, deep breathing exercise, the 4-7-8 method, just checking in with myself, or just socializing and checking on others, as well as them checking on me, is a part of my self-care. So I just balance it by not having motivation, first of all, having discipline, as well as just making it a part of my routine.
For real, I agree with what Taylor said, and the whole self-care thing. Like I'm gonna just tell you something that I live by every day. When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good.
Great. How do you want youth serving mental health organizations to better show up for Black youth?
To really answer that is like just for them to be there. Like it's not we like the youth nowadays, we don't really have a lot of mental health, and the things that we do have, we need more of. Like we're given limited amounts, whereas opposed to we need it for everybody, not just for a select group. Oh, are you gonna steal my line? Okay, Miss Donna. I mean, Donna, I hope I'm saying your name right. But yeah, like we don't have all the help that we need. We have probably like this much as opposed to we need this much. We're the future generation. I'm not going to say that we need to be put high on a pedestal, but we still need the things that we need.
And to kind of add on to what Lamar said, I think it's also about the type of help that is being received. I think that if you actually want to help the youth in our community heal, I think it's important that you do it out of the kindness of your heart and that you genuinely want to see us grow. and help us heal, because a lot of times in our community, we're faced with therapists, teachers, and just adults in general who are only doing it for the money or doing it because it's a job. So they don't really want to put up with some youth because who knows, but I think it's important that we actually have those who are, like Lamar said, look like us, who are from our community and who actually understands what it's like to go through the things that we go through, and also be from Baltimore City.
Oh yeah, and another thing is like y'all just gotta be patient. Like y'all gotta be patient with us. Like it's not like we're gonna be there one day, we're gonna be feeling bad, then boom, it's a epiphany. Like no, we need y'all to take your time with us. Like it's gonna be resistance. It's been resistance for a long time, and it's there for a reason. You have to break through those barriers and get to our inner self. We haven't showed you our real self. We showed you what we want you to see, not what you need to see. So you have to be patient until you get to the point where you can see what you need to see, and then you can evaluate off of that and help us like that.
What is a misconception that many adults have about trauma and the impact of trauma on you and other youth?
Oh, that's a great question. So I think a lot of times what we see in our community as youth are when we come to our parents and our teachers and sometimes our friends about like the things that we're going through and the mental health disorders that we have. A lot of times we're shut down because some adults think because we don't pay bills or because we don't go to work every day that we don't deal with mental health disorders. And that is absolutely not true. As youth, the things that we see, experience, and go through that some of the adults are doing themselves can be very traumatic and has impact on us. So just because we don't pay bills or we don't get up and go to work every day or do the things that adults do does not mean we don't face traumatic experiences or that we don't go through trauma or that we don't have mental health disorders.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lamar. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. K. Yeah. So another thing is actually, could you repeat the question? I don't want to butcher my answer.
I've been reading questions this whole time. So Taylor, can you repeat it?
So I think the question was mainly what are some misconceptions, I believe, that adults have about mental health in the community?
Trauma and the impact of trauma on you and other youth.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taylor.
All right. Thank you. So my answer to that is kind of like a little bit of what Taylor said, but also that like the stuff that we go through, like they had this misconception that the things that we go through makes us stronger. When in reality, although we're going through it, like we still need that help. We still need that support. We still need to be able to process those emotions, those memories, and that trauma that we've been through. And a lot of us aren't given that. We're given the, okay, you'll be fine, or it's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay if we don't get over it. We can't get over it unless we process it. And we can't process it by ourselves sometimes. Sometimes we need somebody to be there to help us, to teach us, to learn. Like youth, although we're growing, we're supposed to be learning, we don't have all the answers. So y'all have the answers. We have some of the answers. Everybody have certain bits and pieces. We still need to come together to understand everything around us.
Thank you. The next question, how do you feel with the killing of our young Black males?
Honestly, I have brothers, I have a nephew, I have Black men who I call my friends and my brothers that are part of my community. And like I said, it just hurts me and impacts me because it just makes me wonder, like, will it be my brother next? Or will it be my friend who's on Murder Inc.? Like, it just impacts my mental health and kind of puts me in a state of depression. Just thinking about how they're being killed every single day. Like, it hurts.
For me, it makes me scared. Like, I have a nephew that's my age. I have nephews that's younger. Then on top of that, like, I'm a Black male, so it affects me deeply because I could walk outside today or tomorrow and I don't know if I'm gonna come home. I don't know if my mother I don't know if I'm gonna walk back and see my mother. Like it's scary because it's like every day I shouldn't be scared to walk across the street, or I shouldn't be scared to drive by a police car. I shouldn't be scared of all these things that I'm scared of, but I'm scared of it because I don't have a choice. It's been the things that has been embedded in my mind. I've seen it for a long time. So of course I'm gonna be fearful of it because I don't want it to happen to me or the people around me.
Thank you. Do you think that the violence within the Black community, i.e. Black on Black crime, is a product of the trauma they have experienced? And how do we find a way to address Black on Black crime without ignoring the outside variables?
Lamar, I think you kind of touched on that in our presentation a little bit. Did you want to talk about that?
I was actually trying to find a question because it kind of went over my head. Dr. K, could you say it again?
Sure. Do you think that the violence within the Black community, like Black on Black crime, is a product of the trauma they have experienced?
Actually, yes. I think it is a product of the trauma that we've experienced. And that's only due to, you hear a lot of Black people, you hear a lot of Black youth saying, you gotta get it how you get it. Or you gotta grind or hustle to get where you at. Like we all have this mindset that we're not gonna, well, not necessarily we all have this mindset that we're not gonna be big, but everyone all have this mindset that we gotta grind hard, whether it's not, school is not it's not the way for us, it's not the outlet for us. A lot of people look at dealing drugs or going to these gangs or being in these groups as ways for them to get rich or make money and stuff like that. And for us, it's like, this is the stuff that we have to see every day. So yeah, the trauma that has happened to us and has happened to the black, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little tongue twisted, but the stuff that has happened to the youth as well as the community as a whole has influenced us greatly.
Thank you. Are there things that youth serving organizations can do to ensure that we're not triggering a young person's trauma?
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I'm not gonna lie.
So is there something that if somebody who's working with youth, is there some way that they can interact without making the youth feel like all their trauma is coming up all at once? Like you were saying, building that relationship, giving you time, patience.
Okay. Yeah, like well, like I said before, like just be patient. Be patient. Like everything is not gonna happen like this. It's chances where they might get triggered, it's chances where they're not. But you can't be there giving them these fake impressions that everything is gonna be fine or they'll heal from that trauma in no time. Like, no, you gotta be real with them. Like they're only gonna be real with you if you're real with them. We can sense that. We can sense when you're trying to be professional just for an occupation, whereas opposed to we need to learn or we need to build from you. Like we need to be taught by you or we need to process these emotions with you. Like we need you to be real with us just as you want us to be real with you.
Great, thank you. There's so many questions in here. Everybody's so excited. Will you be speaking at middle and high schools?
Yes, we definitely plan to. So yes.
Excellent. How can we better educate our healthcare providers to screen for mental health and provide resources?
I say first, like I was kind of saying before, it depends on who the healthcare providers are. I think that we should get people who actually look like us, who come from some of the same backgrounds that we do, and who have been through the experiences that some of our youth are going through.
Do you feel like you have to work harder to earn opportunities because of your race?
Definitely. I feel like that's also kind of like a stigma. So already because of our race, we have to fight for different opportunities, but because of the things and the cultures that we all come from, so maybe it's because like my hair being orange or some of the piercings that we have is in our community, it's not looked at as professional, but what is professional? Like who says having orange hair isn't professional? Because I have orange hair doesn't affect my ability to work or the knowledge that I have inside of my head. Me having piercings also doesn't affect my work ethic or how I will achieve my goals. So I think that it definitely is something that is a barrier for us, as well as something that we have to fight for, just opportunities in general.
Thank you, Lamar and Taylor. If you can go ahead and do your closing comments now, we have the other attendees joining back with us. So you can say your closing.
Yeah, so thank you everyone again so much for listening to our presentation. We hope that you all will use the information and the knowledge that we have given you to help heal our community, as well as look forward to many other presentations from the Healing Youth Alliance.
And we do have other important announcements coming, so please do not leave the space. Our other participants are joining us. Lamar, do you want to also say a message now?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all for participating. It was a very fun experience, and I enjoyed all your questions.
All right, I'm going to now put our other presenters up as speakers. And young elder, are you, I'm going to put you, Ms. Joni, can you put young elder up as a panelist, please? Welcome back to all of our Healing Youth Alliance ambassadors. If at this time, we are opening up the floor to other questions that may come up for the rest of the ambassadors. And then once young elder is back as the host, then young elder is here. So I will pass it back. Young elder.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to our ambassadors. We really appreciate it. And like I said, there will be a satisfaction survey dropped in the chat, so you guys can fill that out. Let us know what you thought, and if you want to contact us and do future presentations with us, we're really looking forward to it. But before we went in the night out, I just really want to say, you know, we put in a lot of work for you guys to get this information, and we hope that you took it into consideration, actually heard us speak from our youth perspective and our real life stories. And one thing I just wanted to say is this is the first time something like this has been done. We are youth and we are on the front lines presenting to you guys how we feel about mental health and things that we feel like you guys need to know. So now it's essentially every single person in this room, well, virtual room, responsibility to do everything that they can for the youth, because like Frederick Douglass said, it's easier to build strong children than to mend a broken man. You feel me? So we have to do everything that we can to support the youth, hear what they have to say, listen to how they feel, and contribute as much as we can, because all of the mental health disorders, all of the mental health issues, they can be somewhat prevented if people understand what it is youth are going through. And that's why we're here, and that's why we presented the information to you guys. And we're extremely grateful and extremely happy that you listen to us. And thank you. Dr. K, you have any final words?
We do have just a few more minutes if anybody would like to ask any questions. I believe that all of our youth ambassadors are standing at the ready.
Yes.
You can put the questions in the chat box. Also, the satisfaction survey is in the chat box as well. So we had a question earlier. Let's see. Oh, here we go. How do you think the pandemic affects youth mental health, and what is your advice in addressing this? And any of the youth ambassadors, unmute yourself and answer that.
I think I wanted to start. Okay, so I feel as though the pandemic has really hit a lot of people really hard, because it's like you were kind of cooped up in the house alone. And I know for sure some people kind of went to school just to, like, you know, get away because like of some of the things that they were going through at home. And so it kind of has brought a lot of mental health issues onto that person. I know for sure like a lot of depression has come because it's like the people are basically cooped up in the house all day, and it's like with the pandemic they can't really go anywhere. And I feel as though with some advice that could be given is like, sometimes you just gotta go outside sometimes, maybe go on the porch, and sometimes do things that actually bring you joy and bring you positivity. Maybe be around family that's kind of, you know, in the house since it's the pandemic, or like do things such as drawing or painting, things that bring you positivity.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else want to answer that?
I can go next.
Great.
For me, I think the pandemic affected us a lot, especially like with school. A lot of times, like with parent relationships and stuff like that, a lot of us live with our parents. So when we went to school, like that was kind of like our free space. Like we really do everything we wanted to, socialize with our friends and everything. Of course, with boundaries on it, but that's where we would like really socialize and get together. So when we get home, when we're just home and cooped up in the house a lot, it's just like, what can we really do in order to still fulfill that socializing? So creating activities what that youth can do in order to still socialize with their friends. Like a lot of people, like for example, I'm a senior. I haven't experienced any prom, and I'm not sure if we'll be experiencing prom this year. So like, how can we do things like creating proms and things like that? And in order for us for adults to better understand and help with this issue, I feel like a lot of times you just have to show that you care and sit and contact the youth, ask the youth how they're doing. Like if you have a son or a daughter, hit them up, like, or have a conversation like, how you feeling today? Like, what can I do to help you? But a lot of times people don't sit and ask that. They just like let the issue fly. So sit and really address the issue head on.
Thank you, Cam. Ania?
I wanted to address Miss Crystal's question. She was like, as a provider, I think she said therapist, how can she draw youth in? So I know how youth everyone has a talent, a gift. So like, for instance, I love music. I'm a musician. So, I mean, hey, draw me in by like, let's have a music session, or try to tie it in on something that they love to do. Like, what's their passion? Let's say they love doing spoken word. Have an activity for them to do, write a spoken word on maybe a topic that you're working on in whatever session, or something that they want to talk about. Instead of, you can work with whatever they're going through on the stuff that they love to do. So that can be singing, that can be art, that can be music. And that could be anything that the youth or child is really passionate about. So anyone else can speak on that question if y'all would like.
Definitely. I wanted to add on to that question. As a therapist or as like a mental health provider, I think it's extremely important to take the youth, like the member, outside of their zip code. Take them somewhere that they can really see and experience everything, and just be that representation that they've been missing and that they have been missing in the community. I know representation has had like a huge impact on me. So once you become not even just a fun mentor, just a mentor that brings them outside of their comfort zone in their city, you will just really see them blossom as a whole, and they will build a deep connection with you.
Thank you. Another question is, if you could converse with anyone on this topic, who would it be, either to learn from them or to teach them?
I would say someone from mainly parents in the Black families and the Black communities, because I feel as though a lot of parents I feel as though they don't really know a lot about mental health, and that's kind of why they really brush things away, because when they were younger, they didn't have these conversations. So I feel as though if I actually sat down and kind of like, explain to them like what I learned now and what I know now, they kind of can, help and talk to their kids. Because I know for sure a lot of us are teenagers and we kind of go through a lot, especially with the transitioning from middle school and then to high school and things like that. And after that, it's really kind of like life right there. You really on your own. So it's like a lot of things kind of happen that we don't really talk about, especially within the Black communities.
Anybody else want to answer that? Thank you, Diabre. Go ahead.
If I could talk to anybody about this topic, I would talk to the policymakers, everyone who makes policies regarding youth. I would talk to them, because they're making decisions about us without talking to us and without being in our neighborhoods and seeing how it would affect us. Each topic we had was about some kind of mental health disorder, trauma, violence, or anything in our community. And everything that the policymakers do affect us, affect youth, affect our grandparents, and then affect everyone in our community. And it's the reason why, as Cam put in the chat, so many generational curses are still happening. It's the reason why we have an issue with food insecurity. So it's so many different things that policymakers control. And that's why I would like to have that conversation with them, so they can hear my rawness and like my whole entire perspective on the whole entire thing.
I definitely agree with Jamira. I feel like we should definitely go straight to the policymakers, because at the end of the day, they need to be held accountable for the things that they're failing to realize when it comes to youth. You know, youth go through things that they have no control over, because usually it's between the age of like 15 and 24 where if there's no guidance, you're kind of like on a really bad path, because if you don't have anyone to look to or anyone to teach you how to do things, then you're kind of out on your own.
Thank you.
I wanted,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Devontae had a question. It was on the live screen. He was like, as we know, during the pandemic, it's been a lot of shootings with our young Black youth. How do you cope with those things? So I know one coping thing that I do when I see young people and in those situations, I take a moment and I reflect myself and I ask myself, what could I have done different? And it's like what we're doing right now is helping our African American youth by presenting and giving other people knowledge on what healing centered engagement is. So we have to remember, and especially bringing up the politics, if you have no one to go to and no one to talk to, no one you feel comfortable to go to, sometimes you feel like you're all alone. And you're not, because look at yourself. You're a young African American male. I'm a young African American female. You have to remember that one, it's not your fault, but let's do something about it. And what we're doing right now, praying for our communities, trying to give out information to help our communities. And it's going to take time, but for sure we're getting there. And I know, Jamira, I see you turning on your mic. So go ahead, you can say something.
How do I cope personally with like the violence and the murder rate in our community, or just the death rate in our community? I always remember that this is a bigger issue. It's not just problems with our community, it's problems with history, and it's problems with like the policies in our community that are stopping us from growing. It's a problem with generational curses. So I'm making my mission. I cope by learning. For me, if I'm not really understanding something, I go back into history and see how it has affected us, or I see how I just learn more about the situation. And then I make an action plan to move forward and just build. I plan to become a social worker and have my own private practice of social workers and mentors and therapists. So I plan to rebuild, and I plan to become the representation to start having those numbers decline in the community.
I kind of wanted to hit on this topic because my friend was actually shot during this pandemic. And the way I kind of cope with it, at first I was kind of scared, because it's like, you kind of don't know how to react when your friend gets shot or whatever like that. So after like he texted me and told me that he was okay and things like that. So we kind of had a long conversation. And so what I did was I kind of like, how I coped with this was I kind of, like talked to him, made sure he was feeling okay and things like that. And I kind of asked him like, what was his perspective on it? Like, how can we as a community come together? How can we as youth come together and kind of stop this so that none of our other friends get shot? And how can we, like stop the generational curses and things like that? How can we come together and, fix everything that's really going on and stop the gun violence?
Thank you. Another question, what is something that you have gone through this year that has reshaped your perspective on what your needs are?
I can answer that one. I say just going through the pandemic and coronavirus, and just being at home and having the time to self-reflect. It also helped me to notice that I'm not the only person who go through, mental health disorders, but there are other youth who go through worse situations than I do, that can be impacted by them even worse than I am. So I think that would be one, coronavirus. And then also just like working from home, and I guess doing school from home, like being behind the screen so much and like being on technology can really impact our mental health. And there was times that I had to just like take a break, whether that's from social media, YouTube, or just looking at my phone, period, because technology and social media can just be like heavy and like too much sometimes.
Thank you, Taylor. We are now at the 5-minute mark, and we wanted to give each of the ambassadors a chance to say what you got out of being part of the Healing Youth Alliance over the past several months, and also to say thank you and good night to your audience. So Elder, as the host, can I start with you and just say something that you've gotten out of being in the Healing Youth Alliance and say good evening to your audience?
Thank you, Dr. K. Yes, thank you guys, like I said, so much for coming and supporting us. And I would say one thing that I learned from being a part of Healing Youth Alliance is perspective. Everybody has a story, and when it comes to healing, you have to see it from somebody else's perspective. It's easy for you to say, oh, why is that person smoking, or why is that person doing drugs? But then you have to look deeper, and you have to try to look at it from their perspective, like, well, what causes you to do that? Or what has led you to do drugs or abuse something? So definitely perspective, that's why I say youth perspective, because it's easy for an adult to be like, that kid is wilding, he's going crazy, he's not listening. Okay, well, let's find out why. So yeah, I would just say perspective for me.
Thank you, Elder. Diabre?
Yes. Something that I kind of got out of this was like, you can't really you can't really go by what people say, because sometimes people aren't really okay, but they will tell you that they're okay. And it's like, you have to, sometimes check on people, because you never know exactly what they are going through, and they may never tell you, because, some people like to handle things on their own. So sometimes people just need that one person that will hit them up out the blue, like, hey, you okay? Like, do you need anyone to talk to, and things like that. So that's kind of what I got out of it. And I wanted to say thank you everyone for coming and listening to our stories. We appreciate everyone.
Thank you. Jamira?
What I got out of Haya, I got so many things out of Haya, but most of all, I got that the whole entire thing of there's powers in numbers. I always really thought about it, but I truly believe it now, because each meeting we have with with the Healing Youth Alliance ambassadors, we became a family, and we started to form this kind of unity that makes us just unstoppable. And I know if we keep moving on like this, we will make many changes in the community. So yeah.
Thank you, Jamira. Ania?
Good evening. I have to say one of the things that I got out of HYA was that love is very important, and loving one another is very important, and saying it and meaning it is something that I really took out of it. And unity, and understanding that we are all one and that we are all important. So thank you all again for coming and taking the time out your evening and watching Black youth, talk about mental health.
Thank you, Ania. Cam?
I've learned a lot from Healing Youth Alliance as well. Like everyone else said, we are a family, but just a realization from tonight. This what we're facing and what we're trying to address as far as mental health. This is a marathon. Tonight was just a checkpoint in that marathon. It's always more things that we can do and hope for how we can be as a community. So like, how can we change? What's the next steps we're going to make? But this is a marathon. This is something that's going to be ongoing. It's just not going to end at tonight. So go out and do things within your community and your organizations in order for us to continue that marathon and keep going and progressing. And I would love to say thank you to everyone that joined, especially the people that came from Western, because I see like some of my teachers in the chat, and I love y'all so much. So thank y'all for spending your time here with us tonight.
Thank you, Cam. Lamar?
What it's taught me is, it taught me that everybody is human. Everybody is allowed to feel the emotions that we feel, that no one is perfect, like that everybody go through stuff regardless of how big it is, how small it is, that regardless of what you go through, it's important for you to process those emotions. It's important for you to remember that you're still human, that you're still able to feel things. It's not good to just shut things deep down and hope that it'll get better, because although it might get better physically, mentally it won't. It will still be there in the back of your mind, still unprocessed, still something that will be bothering you. And that's something that you need to get over. It's something that you need to process, whether that's on your own or with someone else.
Thank you, Lamar. and Taylor.
So just to say one thing, because it was a lot that I definitely learned from Healing Youth Alliance, but just one thing will be Ubuntu. And that means I am because we are. And I think this is so powerful. Just the word itself and then exactly what it means, I think it's so powerful. And if it wasn't for the help of my ambassadors, like I would probably be a nervous wreck tonight, but because we encourage each other so much and that we work tirelessly, to get this done, as well as like working to learn the information and making sure we got it. Like just someone texting me and saying, hey, you got it today. Like you're going to do amazing today. Like my other fellow ambassadors have helped me so much. So I would say without them, I probably wouldn't be here. So Ubuntu.
My icebox.
I was about to say, yep, here are the tears. Ambassadors, thank you all so much. I have one last request for the participants in the chat box. Can you all please show your love for the Healing Youth Alliance ambassadors and show them how you have felt about this wonderful evening? Thank you all so much for attending. Last reminder, do those satisfaction surveys. That is how you can request the ambassadors to come and speak with you all. And I will turn it back over to Young Elder to say final words.
Thank you so much, Dr. K. And thank you so much, guys. You guys are really blowing up in the comments. We really, really appreciate it. Like Taylor said, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for each other. So I just want all of the ambassadors, just give yourself a round of applause because we did this. And I really hope, and I can see from the comments that you guys found value in this presentation. And I can't wait to present to you guys again. So unless anybody has any final comments, good night, you guys, and we love you, and we're so happy that you guys came here to support us. Yeah, make sure y'all get a screenshot of this one. All right, we'll see y'all later.